The ancient weapon. The gate cracked like glass under pressure. Red light spilled through the fractures, painting the alien forest in a bloody glow. The hunters roared, their claws tearing at the barrier. Every strike made the ground shake. Every sound filled John with dread. The pale-haired girl pressed the crystal against her chest. Her body trembled, her voice weak. "I cannot hold them much longer," she whispered. The dark-haired girl grabbed her arm, silver eyes burning. "Then we must find it," she said. "The weapon of our people." John looked between them, confused and terrified. "What weapon? What are you talking about?" The dark-haired girl turned her eyes to him. "It was hidden here long ago, by those who came before. A key, a shield, a blade. Call it what you will, it is the only thing that can end the hunters." John shook his head. "And you just now decide to tell me this?" Her gaze did not soften. "You were not ready before, but now, if we do nothing, your world will die as ours did." Max barked sharply, running ahead into the glowing forest. He sniffed the ground, his ears twitching, his body tense. Then he dug, claws throwing dirt into the air. John ran after him, his heart pounding. "What is it, boy? What are you finding?" The pale-haired girl gasped. "The Guardian remembers." John knelt beside Max, helping him clear the earth. At last, his hand struck something hard, stone, cold and smooth. But when he brushed the dirt away, he saw lines of silver glowing on its surface. A box, not of wood, not of metal, something in between. It hummed with power even before it was opened. The dark-haired girl placed her hand on the box. Her silver eyes flickered with light. "Yes, it is here," she whispered. The box opened slowly. Without a sound, inside lay something that did not look like a weapon. A staff, black as night, its surface etched with glowing runes. To the top rested a crystal larger than the one the girl carried. It pulsed faintly, alive. John stared, his voice shaking. That's your weapon?" The pale-haired girl's voice was soft but filled with fear. "It is not just a weapon. It is a choice. It can destroy the hunters, but it will take the life of the one who uses it." John's breath caught, his stomach twisted, his mind screaming. He looked at the staff, then at the two girls, then at Max. Someone would have to die to save them. The thought made his chest heavy. The gate cracked again, louder this time. The hunter's claws tore bigger rifts, red light spilling through like fire. The dark-haired girl lifted the staff, her hands shaking. "I will use it," she said firmly. But her sister grabbed her arm, tears in her silver eyes. "No, you cannot. You are all I have left." John stepped forward, his fists clenched. "Stop! There has to be another way." The pale-haired girl shook her head slowly. "There is no other way, human. The weapon was made to destroy, but its power demands a soul." Max barked, stepping closer to the staff. He growled, his eyes glowing faintly in the strange light. John grabbed his collar quickly. "No, boy. Not you. Not ever." His voice cracked, fear choking him. He could not lose Max, not after everything. The ground shook harder, the gate split wider. Through the cracks, John saw the hunters moving, their claws stretched forward, their voices rising in cruel laughter. The pale-haired girl sobbed softly. "They are almost through." John's heart raced, his breath uneven. He looked at the weapon, at the glowing crystal that pulsed like a beating heart. His mind screamed at him to run, but he knew there was nowhere left to go. If the hunters crossed, Earth would burn. If someone used the weapon, one life would end to save millions. The dark-haired girl held the staff tightly, her silver eye as fixed on John. "You must decide," she said. "Will you fight, or will you hide?" The pale-haired girl's voice broke. "If we wait too long, it will be too late." Their faces were hidden in shadow, but their eyes, burning red, never blinking, they looked less like living creatures and more like nightmares given form. John staggered back, his voice shaking. "What are they?" The pale-haired girl closed her eyes, her face pale. "They were once like us, but twisted by their own hunger. They became destroyers, feeding on worlds, taking life until nothing remains." One hunter stepped closer to the gate, its red eyes fixed on John. It raised a claw slowly and dragged it across the invisible barrier. The sound was sharp, screeching like metal on stone. The noise crawled into John's skull, making him flinch. The creature tilted its head, as if studying him. Then it spoke, not in words, but in a sound, a deep, broken laugh, full of cruelty. John felt his stomach twist, his breath uneven. They know me," he whispered. The dark-haired girl nodded. "They will remember you now, Once a hunter sees you, it never forgets. You are marked. The air grew colder. John pulled Max closer, the dog growling fiercely at the gate, but the hunters did not attack. Not yet. Instead, they stood waiting, watching. It was worse than the chase. It was a promise of what would come. The pale-haired girl's voice trembled. They want us alive. Not dead. Not yet. They will take us, break us, and use us to open more gates. If they succeed, your earth will fall as ours did. John's throat went dry. He looked at the glowing trees around him, the alien forest alive with strange energy, then back at the hunters, their shadows pressing against the barrier. The thought of those monsters stepping into his quiet town, into his world, it made his blood turn cold. The dark-haired girl stepped closer to John, her silver eyes sharp. "You must understand, human," she said. "They are not just our enemies now. They are yours too." John shook his head, fear turning into anger. "I didn't ask for this. I don't want this fight." The girl's gaze softened, but her words were sharp. "Neither did we, but here we are." The hunters pressed harder against the barrier. The air rippled, cracks of red light spreading through the gate. The pale-haired girl gasped, clutching the crystal tighter. "They are breaking it. They will come through soon." John's chest rose and fell quickly. He looked at Max, who growled and stood tall. The dog's eyes glowed faintly in the strange light. He was not afraid. He was ready. John realized then he could not run anymore. If he turned away, the hunters would follow him home, follow him to Earth. The forest roared with the sound of the hunters' growls. Branches snapped. The ground shook. The pale-haired girl whispered one word, her voice breaking. "War." The gate flared bright, the barrier trembling. John stepped back, his fists tight, his eyes wide. The hunters were coming, and there was no escape this time. John shook his head, laughing bitterly. "He's just a dog. I raised him since he was a pup." The pale-haired girl smiled faintly. "Yes, but even a guardian can hide as something small." John stared at Max, his chest heavy. Could it be true that his loyal companion was more than just a pet? The dark-haired girl leaned closer, her voice low. "Our people once created guardians, beings tied to both us and to the worlds we touched. They could sense danger, lead the way, and protect what we could not. Your Max is one of them, hidden among you, waiting for the day he was needed." John blinked, the words pounding in his head. He looked at Max again, and for the first time, he noticed something new. The way Max's eyes glowed faintly in the strange light, the way he had led them to safety when they were lost, the way he had faced the hunters without fear. Maybe they were right. John's voice cracked. "Then why are the hunters after me?" The pale-haired girl clutched the crystal, her hand trembling. "Because you saw us, and because the Guardian has chosen you. Now you are tied to our fate, human." Silence fell between them, broken only by the faint growls from the other side of the gate. John's stomach twisted. His quiet life was gone, replaced by something far larger, but still a piece of him resisted. "I never asked for this," he said, his voice hard. The dark-haired girl's eyes softened. "No one ever does," she whispered. Suddenly the crystal pulsed in the pale-haired girl's hand. The ground under them shook. The trees swayed though there was no wind. She gasped, her face pale. "They are calling more of them. The hunters are not alone." John stood quickly, his fists tight. "What do we do?" he demanded. The pale-haired girl looked at him with tired eyes. "You must decide, human. Hide and let them find you, or stand with us and fight." Max barked loudly, his tail sunk. His teeth bared. He had already chosen. John looked at his dog, then at the two strange girls. His chest rose and fell, and finally he whispered, "Then tell me everything. No more secrets." The girls exchanged a look, and slowly, they nodded. The dark-haired one's voice carried both pride and pain. "Then listen well, John of Earth, for your world is in greater danger than you know. The Dark Hunters." The pale-haired girl's words hung heavy in the air. John sat still, his fists tight, his mind storming with fear and anger. Across the gate, the red eyes burned like fire. But now new sounds came. Low growls, strange clicks, and the crack of branches. The hunters were not alone anymore. The dark-haired girl stood tall, her silver eyes hard. "They are gathering," she said, her voice sharp. "They know the Guardian has awakened, and they know a human stands with us." John felt his chest tighten. "I never stood with you," he muttered. But Max barked once, as if to correct him. The pale-haired girl whispered, "You already did, the moment you followed us into the storm." The ground shook, the gate's glow wavered. Through the shimmering light, John saw more shadows moving. The hunters stepped closer, and this time he saw them clearly. Taller than any man, their bodies wrapped in black armor-like skin. Their arms were long, ending in claws that shimmered like blades. The trees were taller, their leaves glowing faintly. The air smelled strange, thick with energy. It was another place, another world. A moment later, the dark-haired girl appeared, collapsing beside them. Her body shook, her face pale, but her silver eyes still glowed fiercely. She whispered, "We escaped. For now." John's chest rose and fell, his body shaking. He looked at Max, then at the girls, and then back at the gate, still glowing faintly behind them. Through the shimmering light, he saw the hunters, their red eyes burning, their claws reaching. They could not pass through. Yet, John whispered to himself, "What have I gotten into?" The hidden truth. The air in the new forest was heavy, thick with strange energy. John sat on the glowing grass, his chest rising and falling fast. Beside him, the pale-haired girl lay weak, the crystal clutched tight in her hand. The dark-haired girl crouched near her sister, silver eyes burning. Max stood alert, his ears up, growling softly toward the gate. Behind them, through the shimmering portal, the hunters waited. Their red eyes glowed like burning coals, their claws scraping against the invisible wall. They could not cross, but their growls promised they would not give up. The pale-haired girl coughed, her voice faint. "They will not stop. They never stop." John's hands trembled, his mind spinning. He had been pulled into a nightmare, yet it felt real, too real. Finally, he asked the question that burned inside him. "What are you? What do you want with me?" The dark-haired girl turned her silver eyes on him. Her voice was calm but sharp. "We are not from your world," she said. "We are what is left of a broken people." John frowned, shaking his head. "Aliens? You mean you're aliens?" The girl did not flinch at the word. "Yes, but we were once children of a great world, a world now gone." John stared at her, the words heavy. In his mind, the pale-haired girl spoke next, her voice weak but steady. "Our home was destroyed by the hunters you saw. They are not just killers, they are conquerors." Her silver eyes filled with sadness. "They burned our skies, broke our families, and now they hunt us across worlds." John's throat went dry. He wanted to argue, to tell himself it was all madness, but the memory of those red eyes, that laughter, that impossible chase, he could not deny it. "And why me?" he asked. "Why my dog? Why my life?" The girls exchanged a long look. Finally, the dark-haired one whispered, "Because he chose." She pointed at Max, who stood proudly by John's side. "He is more than you know." The warning was clear. He was now part of something far greater and far more dangerous. The pale-haired girl closed her eyes, whispering softly, "They will not stop until one of us is gone." The chase. The forest held its breath. The pale-haired girl leaned against the stone wall, holding the glowing crystal tight. The dark-haired girl stood tall, her silver eyes fixed on the shadows. John clutched Max's collar, his heart pounding like a drum. He could hear the hunters moving, their heavy steps shaking the ground. "They will break through," the pale-haired girl whispered, her voice weak. The crystal flickered, its light fading like a dying flame. The shadows at the forest's edge hissed and pushed forward. Their red eyes burned brighter, their growls deep and hungry. John whispered harshly, "We need to run." The dark-haired girl grabbed his arm, her grip stronger than he expected. "That is the only choice," she said, "but they are faster than you, faster than all of us." John looked around in panic. "Then what do we do?" Max barked loudly, his ears pointing toward a narrow path. It twisted deeper into the rocks, half hidden by vines. The girls exchanged a quick look, then nodded. "The guardian knows," the dark-haired one said. "Follow him." John didn't argue. He ran after Max, pulling the girls with him. The path was rough, stones sharp under his boots. Branches cut his arms as they rushed through. Behind them, the hunters roared, a sound so deep it shook the air. The ground trembled as they gave chase. John dared to look back. He saw dark figures moving fast between the trees, their bodies blurred by shadows, their arms long, their claws sharp. Each step they took left the ground smoking. They were not just hunters, they were monsters. "Faster!" the pale-haired girl cried, but her voice broke. She stumbled, her body flickering like broken light. John caught her. Before she fell, his arms shaking from her strange weight, it was like holding a child made of both flesh and fire. "What's happening to her?" he shouted. The dark-haired girl's voice was sharp. "She is weakening. The key drains her strength." Max barked again, louder this time. He dashed forward, leading them out of the narrow rocks into another clearing. But this clearing was different. Strange symbols were carved into the stones, glowing faintly in the dirt. The girls gasped, their silver eyes wide. "A gate," whispered the pale-haired one. "An old gate." The hunters burst from the trees, their red eyes blazing. They surrounded the clearing, their growls echoing like thunder. John's knees shook, his body frozen. The pale-haired girl clutched the crystal close to her chest. Her voice cracked. I cannot stop them all." The dark-haired girl stepped forward, her robe flaring as if alive. She raised her hands, silver light glowing from her palms. The air around her shimmered, bending as if under great heat. She shouted words in her strange language. The ground shook, the symbols on the stones glowed brighter. The hunters hissed, their bodies slowing as if caught in invisible chains. But the dark-haired girl's face twisted with pain. Blood ran from her nose, her voice trembling. "I cannot hold them long. Run!" John pulled the pale-haired girl toward the gate. Max barked and ran ahead, pushing through the glowing stones. The hunters screamed, their claws tearing at the invisible force holding them back. The dark-haired girl shouted one final word. A wave of silver light blasted outward, knocking the shadows to the ground. John and the pale-haired girl stumbled into the gate. The world spun, colors twisted, the air thick and heavy. For a moment, John thought he was falling into nothing. Then he landed hard on the ground, coughing. Max whined, licking his face, his tail wagging. The pale-haired girl lay beside him, her breathing weak. John looked around, his eyes wide. They were no longer in the same forest. Max barked once, sharp and urgent, pulling John's attention to the trees. The forest had grown darker. Even though the morning sun was rising, the shadows stretched unnaturally long, twisting as if alive. Then, in the silence, a new sound appeared. A slow, heavy breath, deep and animal-like, coming from the woods. John stepped back, holding Max's collar, his heart racing. He wanted to run, but his legs felt heavy. Something moved between the trees, a tall, dark shape. The glowing red eyes returned, steady and watching. The air felt heavy, almost pressing John into the earth. Before he could scream, a soft voice called from behind, "Do not move." John spun around. The two strange girls were back. Their silver eyes glowed brighter than before, their robes fluttering even though no wind touched them. The pale-haired girl walked to John quickly and grabbed the crystal from his hands. "You touched it too soon," she whispered, her voice trembling. The dark-haired girl glared at the shadows in the trees, her voice sharp. "They are already here." John's head spun. "Who? What are they?" he shouted. The pale-haired girl turned to him, her face pale. "They are hunters, and they will not stop until they have us. And now you." John's throat went dry, his hands shaking. "But why me? I don't even know you." The dark-haired girl's voice was calm but cold. "Because you saw us, and because your dog chose us," Max barked, standing tall as if he understood her words. John pulled him close, his voice breaking. "He's just a dog." But deep inside, John felt the weight of her words. Max was more than he seemed, and somehow, John had missed it all these years. The laughter grew louder, sharper, and closer. The trees shivered, and the glowing red eyes multiplied. One pair became two, then three, then more. Shapes moved in the dark, circling the clearing. The pale-haired girl clutched the crystal tightly, her silver eyes locked on John. "If you want to live, you must trust us," she whispered. John shook his head, sweat dripping from his brow. "Trust you? You're not even human." The girls stared at him, their faces unreadable. Finally, the dark-haired one spoke, her voice low but powerful. "Human or not, we are your only chance." The ground trembled slightly, as if heavy footsteps pressed into the earth. The hunters were closing in, their presence thick in the air. John's instincts screamed at him to run, but his heart told him the girls were right. Alone, he would not survive. Max barked again, pushing his body against John's leg as if urging him. The pale-haired girl raised the crystal, its glow spreading like a shield of light. The shadows hissed, pulling back, their red eyes burning with anger. "They fear the key," she whispered. But her hand trembled. The glow flickered. The dark-haired girl grabbed John's arm, pulling him. "We must move now, before the shield breaks." John stumbled after them, his breath fast. The forest blurred as the girls led him through twisting paths. Behind them, the hunters followed, their laughter now replaced with growls. John dared to look back once. He saw them, tall, dark figures, their bodies hidden in shadow, their eyes burning red. Every step they took shook the ground, like giants walking. The girls pulled John into a narrow path between the rocks. The crystal dimmed, but the shadows stopped at the edge, snarling. The pale-haired girl leaned against the wall, her face pale. "I cannot hold them off for long," she whispered. The dark-haired one turned to John, her eyes sharp. "This is your warning, human," she said coldly. "If you stay with us, you will never have a normal life again." John's chest rose and fell, his mind spinning. He looked at Max, who panted but wagged his tail, standing proudly by the girls. He thought of his quiet house, his quiet life, and then he thought of the red eyes in the forest, waiting for him. He knew his life had already changed. John stared at the glowing crystal, his stomach twisting. He did not understand any of it, but deep down, he knew life would never be the same. The girls turned to leave, their silver eyes glowing brighter in the shadows. "Wait!" John shouted. "Where are you going?" The dark-haired one looked back, her voice almost breaking. "If we stay, they will come, and you will not survive the night." The pale-haired girl added one last warning. "Guard your dog, guard yourself, and do not follow the laughter in the dark." Then, in the blink of an eye, they were gone. The clearing was empty, except for John, Max, and the strange crystal pulsing on the ground. John bent down slowly, his fingers shaking as he reached for it, but before he could touch it, the sound returned. The laughter, soft and high, echoing between the trees. This time, it was not playful. It was cruel, sharp, and close. The warning. John stood frozen in the clearing, the strange crystal glowing faintly on the ground. Max stayed close, growling low, his body tense, his ears sharp. The laughter echoed again, circling the trees like a cruel game. John felt his skin crawl, every sound pressing on his chest. He bent down, his hand shaking as he picked up the crystal. The moment his fingers touched it, a wave of warmth spread through him, but it was not normal warmth. It carried a strange hum, like distant voices whispering. John dropped it quickly, gasping, but the glow stayed strong, pulsing like a heartbeat. Max barked once, sharp and urgent, pulling John's attention to the trees. The forest had grown darker, even though the morning sun was rising. The shadows stretched unnaturally long, twisting as if alive. Then, in the silence, a new sound appeared, a slow, heavy breath, deep and animal-like, coming from the woods. John stepped back, holding Max's collar, his heart racing. He wanted to run, but his legs felt heavy. Something moved between the trees, a tall, dark shape. The glowing red eyes returned, steady and watching. The air felt heavy, almost pressing John into the earth. Before he could scream, a soft voice called from behind, "Do not move." John spun around. The two strange girls were back. Their silver eyes glowed brighter than before, their robes fluttering even though no wind touched them. The pale-haired girl walked to John quickly and grabbed the crystal from his hands. "You touched it too soon," she whispered, her voice trembling. The dark-haired girl glared at the shadows in the trees, her voice sharp. "They are already here." John's head spun. "Who? What are they?" he shouted. The pale-haired girl turned to him, her face pale. "They are hunters, and they will not stop until they have us. And now you." John's throat went dry, his hands shaking. "But why me? I don't even know you." The dark-haired girl's voice was calm but cold. "Because you saw us, and because your dog chose us," Max barked, standing tall as if he understood her words. John pulled him close, his voice breaking. "He's just a dog." But deep inside, John felt the weight of her words. Max was more than he seemed, and somehow, John had missed it all these years. The laughter grew louder, sharper, and closer. The trees shivered, and the glowing red eyes multiplied. One pair became two, then three, then more. Shapes moved in the dark, circling the clearing. The pale-haired girl clutched the crystal tightly, her silver eyes locked on John. "If you want to live, you must trust us," she whispered. John shook his head, sweat dripping from his brow. "Trust you? You're not even human." The girls stared at him, their faces unreadable. Finally, the dark-haired one spoke, her voice low but powerful. "Human or not, we are your only chance." The ground trembled slightly, as if heavy footsteps pressed into the earth. The hunters were closing in, their presence thick in the air. John's instinct screamed at him to run, but his heart told him the girls were right. Alone, he would not survive. The forest grew quiet again, too quiet. No birds, no wind, only the sound of John's heartbeat in his ears. The girls looked at each other, speaking again in their strange language. Then the pale-haired one said something that made John's blood turn cold. "He must not see us yet, it is too soon." Max barked once, sharp and loud, as if warning John. The air grew heavy, the sunlight dimmed, and from the shadows at the edge of the clearing, something moved, watching. The first contact. The forest felt colder than before. John stood frozen, Max at his side, while the two strange girls stared at him. Their silver eyes reflected the dim light, glowing softly like stars hidden in mist. He had so many questions, but his tongue felt heavy. Finally, John stepped forward, his boots sinking into the wet ground. The girls did not run, they only watched. Max barked once, wagging his tail as if asking John to trust them. John whispered, "Who are you?" The pale-haired girl lowered her head, her voice almost a whisper. "We are not from here." John felt his chest tighten. He wanted to laugh, to tell himself it was a dream. But the storm, the glowing footprints, the device in her hand, it was all too real. The dark-haired girl stepped closer, her robe-like clothing shifting like water. "You are human," she said slowly, as if tasting the word. John nodded, confused. "Of course I am. What else would I be?" The girls exchanged a quick look, their eyes speaking words faster than mouths. The pale-haired girl crouched down and touched Max gently. "Your companion," she said. "He understands more than you think." John frowned. "He's just a dog." The girl looked up sharply, her silver eyes glowing brighter. "No, he is a guardian." John felt a chill run through his body. He wanted to deny it, but Max stood tall, as if proud of her words. For a moment, John felt like he didn't know his own dog anymore. "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice rough. The dark-haired girl tilted her head, her voice calm, yet strange. "We ask nothing, but we are hunted. And now, so are you." John's heart pounded harder. "Hunted? By who?" he demanded. Before she could answer, the pale-haired girl opened her hand again. The small device inside glowed red, blinking faster than before. John stepped closer, trying to see. It was not like any machine he had ever seen. It was smooth, silver, with lines of light moving across it like veins. "What is that?" he asked. The girl closed her hand quickly, hiding it. "It is a key," she said softly, "but it is also a curse." John's breath caught. He wanted to press her, to demand the truth, but the forest around them grew quiet again. Too quiet. The air felt heavy, the silence thick. Max growled low, his eyes fixed on the trees. Something was moving there, just out of sight. The dark-haired girl stepped closer to John. Her voice was soft, but her words cut deep. "If you stay, they will find you," she warned. John shook his head, trying to keep control. "Find me? Who? What are you talking about?" The pale-haired girl whispered one word, so soft John almost missed it. "Hunters." The shadows in the trees shifted. John saw glowing red eyes for just a second. Then they were gone. His throat went dry. His hands trembled. "Why me? I don't know you. I don't know any of this," he shouted. The girls did not answer, but their silence said more than words. Finally, the dark-haired girl reached into the folds of her robe. She pulled out something small and shining. It looked like a crystal, but inside it, light swirled like smoke. She held it out toward John. "You must take this," she said. John shook his head, stepping back. "No, I don't want it." Her eyes narrowed. "It is not about want, it is about survival." Max barked sharply, circling Joe. And as if protecting him, the pale-haired girl placed the crystal gently on the ground. "It will call to them," she said, "but it will also protect you." The vanishing dog. The night was dark, and the wind moved through the trees like whispers. John sat alone in his small wooden house, listening to the sound of rain hitting the roof. His dog, Max, lay near the fireplace, his eyes half closed, his ears twitching with every sound. Max was not only a dog to John, he was family, the only soul who gave him comfort in the quiet town. That night felt different. There was something heavy in the air. The storm outside grew louder, the trees bent under the strong wind. John tried to read a book, but his eyes kept drifting to the window. The rain made strange shapes on the glass, and in the flashes of lightning, he thought he saw movement in the woods. Max suddenly stood up, his ears sharp, his body tense. A low growl came from his throat, deep and warning. John frowned and put down his book. "What is it, boy?" he whispered, but Max did not answer with his usual bark. Instead, Max ran to the door, scratching it, pulling at the handle with his paw. John hesitated. The storm was wild outside, but Max barked once, urgent and sharp. Finally, John opened the door, and Max rushed into the night. "Max!" John shouted, his voice lost in the roar of the storm. He grabbed his lantern and stepped into the rain. The cold drops hit his face, and the wind almost pushed him back, but John kept walking, calling his dog again and again. The woods looked darker than ever, the branches moving like arms in the shadows. Minutes passed, but there was no answer, only the sound of rain and thunder. John's heart raced, his lantern shook in his hand. Then he saw it, on the muddy ground near the forest. Footprints, but not just Max's. The dog's paw prints were there, but beside them were strange glowing marks. They looked too small for a human, and too strange for an animal. They pulsed faintly, like fireflies trapped in the mud. John bent down, his breath heavy. He touched one of the glowing prints, and it was warm, almost alive. His chest tightened, fear crawling up his spine. He whispered, "What is this?" But before he could think, the sound of laughter came from deep inside the woods. It was not the laughter of grown people. It was light, high, and playful, like the laughter of children playing a game. But what children would be outside, in the storm, in the middle of the night? John froze, his mind searching for answers. He called out, "Who's there?" But no one replied, only more laughter, this time closer, echoing between the trees. John took a step back, his lantern shaking. The storm seemed to grow louder, the trees bending closer. He wanted to run back to his house, but his heart pulled him forward. Max was out there somewhere, maybe with whoever was laughing. The footprints glowed brighter, leading deeper into the forest. He followed, each step heavier than the last. His shoes sank into the mud, the rain stung his skin. But he kept walking, his eyes locked on the strange glowing trail. The laughter grew louder, almost circling him. John felt as if unseen eyes were watching him from the dark. Every hair on his neck stood up. Then the lantern flickered, once, twice, and went out. Darkness swallowed him. John gasped, holding the useless lantern in his hand. Lightning cracked above, and for a second, the whole forest lit up. In that flash of white light, John saw something move. Two small figures, standing near the trees, watching him. Their eyes glowed like silver, and between them, Max stood, wagging his tail. The light vanished. The forest went black again. John's breath caught in his throat. The storm howled, and the children's laughter returned. This time, it came from everywhere at once. John whispered, trembling, "Max." But his voice was lost in the storm. The sacrifice. The staff pulsed like a living heart in John's hands. Its glow burned through his skin, filling his body with heat and fire. He staggered, almost dropping it, but his grip tightened. Behind him, the hunters roared as the gate split wide open. Their red eyes glowed brighter, their claws reaching through the cracks. The pale-haired girl cried out, "Stop! If you use it, you will die!" Her silver eyes filled with tears, her voice breaking. John shook his head, his voice low but steady. "Then so be it, if that's what it takes." The dark-haired girl stepped closer, her face pale but fierce. "You do not understand, human. This weapon was made for our kind. Your body cannot hold its power. It will burn you to ash before the strike." John's throat tightened, but he did not let go. "What choice do we have?" he shouted. "If no one stands, everyone falls." Max barked sharply, jumping at John's side. The dog's eyes glowed faintly, his growl deep. John looked down at him, his voice cracking. "No, boy, I won't let you. You've followed me all your life, but this is my fight now." The staff grew heavier, the runes blazing brighter. It filled John's head with whispers, strange voices calling. Some sounded like promises, others like threats. But beneath it all, he heard one clear message. Sacrifice, or all is lost. The hunters struck the gate again. This time, cracks of fire spread across the barrier. Their laughter echoed, cruel and hungry. The pale-haired girl dropped to her knees, clutching the smaller crystal tight, her voice weak. "They are almost through. You must choose now." John lifted the staff higher, its power shaking his body. His vision blurred, his chest burned. He felt his life draining away with every second he held it. But then, something inside him pushed back. A memory, simple but strong. The nights sitting with Max by the fire. The quiet mornings. In his small town, the laughter of a normal life he thought would last forever. He realized then, he was not fighting only for himself. He was fighting for all of it, for everything human. The dark-haired girl's eyes widened. "You are resisting it," she whispered. "No human should be able to hold it this long." John grit his teeth, sweat pouring down his face. Maybe, Maybe humans are tougher than you think. The staff screamed in his hands, light bursting out. The hunters roared louder, clawing through the final layer of the gate. Their shadows stretched across the clearing, reaching for them. Max barked furiously, his body glowing brighter now. For a moment, John swore his dog's form flickered. Not just a dog, but something greater, a guardian wrapped in fur. The pale-haired girl gasped. The guardian is awakening. But John shook his head. No, he's done enough. This is my turn. He raised the staff high, the light burning his arms. Pain ripped through his chest, his skin blazing like fire. The hunters lunged as the gate shattered, dozens of them pouring through with claws and red eyes. John screamed, his voice echoing with the staff's power. A burst of light exploded from him, silver and white, brighter than the sun. It tore across the clearing, slamming into the hunters. Their laughter turned to shrieks, their bodies twisting in pain. The light consumed them, burning through their shadows. One by one they fell, their red eyes fading, until nothing was left but smoke. John collapsed to his knees, the staff still glowing faintly in his hands. His chest heaved, his body weak. The pale-haired girl crawled to him, tears streaming down her face. "You should be dead," she whispered. Her sister stared at him, her voice trembling. No human could survive that power. And yet, "You stand." John coughed, his hands shaking. "I'm not standing for long," he muttered, but Max pressed against him, warm and steady. John placed a hand on his dog's head, whispering, "Guess we showed them what humans can do, huh, boy?" The staff dimmed at last, falling silent. The HFY ending. The clearing was silent at last. Smoke drifted in the air where the hunters had fallen. The strange forest glowed faintly, its light returning after the storm of battle. John lay on the ground, the staff beside him, its runes dim now. His chest rose and fell slowly, every breath painful but alive. Max pressed against him, warm and steady. The dog's eyes still carried a faint glow, fading with the light of the staff. John stroked his fur weakly, whispering, "You saved me again, boy. Like always." The pale-haired girl knelt beside John, her silver eyes filled with tears. "You should be dead," she said softly. "No one of our kind ever survived the weapon's strike." The dark-haired girl stood behind her, her voice quiet but firm. "Yet he did, because he is human." John opened his eyes, weak but sharp. "Don't act so surprised," he muttered, his lips curling into a faint smile. "Humans, we don't give up so easy." The girls looked at each other, then back at him. Something in their faces changed, respect, even awe. For the first time, they saw him not as a helpless man, but as something more. The staff pulsed once, then fell silent, its crystal cracked, its power gone. John felt a wave of relief, but also fear. If this was only one battle, what would come next? The pale-haired girl touched his arm gently. "You are marked now, John of Earth. The hunters will never forget you. They will return, stronger, in greater numbers." Her words carried both warning and sorrow. John sat up slowly, his body aching. He looked at the sealed gate, its surface burned and scarred. The red eyes were gone, but he knew she was right. "They'll come back," he whispered. "And this time, not just for you, for my world too." Max barked once, as if agreeing. The sound echoed through the quiet forest. The dark-haired girl placed a hand on John's shoulder, her voice steady. "Then we prepare. You fought with nothing but your will. If your people carry even a fraction of that, the hunters will find Earth far harder to break than they expect." John laughed weakly, though his chest hurt. "You think humans can fight monsters like those?" The girl's silver eyes glowed faintly. "You already proved it." The pale-haired girl smiled through her tears. "You stood when others would fall. You carried a burden no one else could. To us, you are more than human now. You are father of guardians." John's breath caught, the weight of her words sinking in. He looked at Max, wagging his tail proudly. "Guess that makes you my first soldier, huh, boy?" Max barked happily, his tail thumping the ground. The girls helped John to his feet. The forest around them shimmered, alive again. For the first time, John noticed the beauty. Trees glowing softly, strange flowers humming with light. It was not his world, but it was a world worth saving. He looked at the girls, then at the horizon, his voice low but steady. "If the hunters are coming, then we fight. Not just for me, not just for you, but for every human back home who doesn't even know what's coming." The dark-haired girl nodded, her face calm. Then Earth has a chance, because it has you. The pale-haired one lifted her crystal, its light faint but steady. With the guardian and with the will of your people, the hunters may finally know fear. Above them, the sky rumbled. John looked up and froze. Shapes moved among the stars. Dark silhouettes, sharp and massive, dozens of alien ships, silent but watching. They had seen everything. They knew Earth had awakened. John's jaw tightened, his fists clenched. He felt fear, but also fire. He whispered to himself, "Let them come. They'll learn soon enough what it means to fight humans." The girl stood at his side. Max growled low. The forest glowed brighter as if ants, wearing the challenge. And in that moment, John was no longer just one man who had lost his dog. He was something more, the first spark of Earth's resistance. The proof that even against monsters in endless darkness, humans endure. The clearing, reaching for them, Max barked furiously, his body glowing brighter now. For a moment, John swore his dog's form flickered. Not just a dog, but something greater, a guardian wrapped in fur. The pale-haired girl gasped, "The guardian is awakening." But John shook his head. "No, he's done enough. This is my turn." He raised the staff high, the light burning his arms. Pain ripped through his chest, his skin blazing like fire. The hunters lunged as the gate shattered, dozens of them pouring through with claws and red eyes. John screamed, his voice echoing with the staff's power. A burst of light exploded from him, silver and white, brighter than the sun. It tore across the clearing, slamming into the hunters. Their laughter turned to shrieks, their bodies twisting in pain. The light consumed them, burning through their shadows. One by one, they fell, their red eyes fading, until nothing was left but smoke. John collapsed to his knees, the staff still glowing faintly in his hands. His chest heaved, his body weak. The pale-haired girl crawled to him, tears streaming down her face. "You should be dead," she whispered. Her sister stared at him, her voice trembling. No human could survive that power. And yet, you stand. John coughed, his hands shaking. "I'm not standing for long," he muttered, but Max pressed against him, warm and steady. John placed a hand on his dog's head, whispering, "Guess we showed them what humans can do, huh, boy?" The staff dimmed at last, falling silent. The clearing was quiet, the gate sealed. But John knew this was not the end. The hunters were many, and this was only one battle. The pale-haired girl wiped her tears, her voice soft but full of awe. "You gave what none of us could. Not just power, but will. Humans are not what we thought." John looked at her, his face pale, his body weak. "Remember that," he whispered, "because this fight is just beginning."